Well, we're here. We made it to Ecuador. Now let the fun begin.
We landed around 1 in the morning and arrived at our hotel around 3. We got a few hours of sleep and then we're ready to really start the adventure. We'll spend the first week on the mainland of Ecuador before we head out to the Galapagos. It's interesting traveling in the era of COVID and Omicron. The first thing you notice is that everyone wears a mask, both indoors and outdoors. They seem to take the pandemic very seriously with masks and hand sanitizer everywhere. Day 1 is a tour of beautiful Quito. We visited the cathedral for great views and walked around the city center. In the afternoon, we visited the middle of the world and the equator. Of course, taking some silly video jumping back and forth between the northern and southern hemispheres. The next day, we began our journey through the Andes. The distances were long and we spent many hours in the bus with our driver Homero, guide Santiago, and the other 8 people on our tour.
We made it to Quilotoa. It's a lake here in the middle of a volcano crater. As you can see, the water is very green. There's a really high mineral content here. There's a lot of clouds today, not a lot of sun, so not quite as much reflection as you might see otherwise, but it's still very beautiful. The altitude affects me really strongly, so having a little trouble breathing, a little bit of a headache and some lightheadedness. So I'm not going down to the lake. I'm gonna stay up here and take in a couple more views and then probably go shopping.
We bought great souvenirs like alpaca sweaters and scarves, jewelry, art, and more. After lunch, it was back on the bus for a few hours. Our next stop was Baños, which is considered the gateway to the Amazon and an awesome town. We spent 2 nights there. We went ziplining through the canyon and visited El Pilón de Diablo waterfalls.
We're here in Baños now at the awesome waterfalls. It's a little bit of a hike to get here, or rather to get further to the bottom of the waterfalls, but totally worth it. Really awesome view. Take a look.
We drove away from the warm weather of Baños to the very cold temperatures of the Chimborazo volcano. I was not expecting it to be this cold in a country that's on the equator.
All right, we made it here to Chimborazo. We are on the volcano right now and it's cold. It's actually snowing. We are above the clouds, in the clouds, snow, cold. And believe it or not, we're at more than 16,000 feet. This is as far as I'm going. I'm already starting to feel the altitude.
We spent the night in Riobamba and then continued to Ingapirca the next day. It's the site of the only Inca ruins left in Ecuador. The Incas were only here for about 60 years before the Spanish conquered the country. It's believed that Ingapirca was supposed to be the same size as Machu Picchu in Peru. After Ingapirca, we headed to Cuenca. We got a beautiful view of the city at sunset from an overlook high on a hill.
We're here in the city of Cuenca, which is a gorgeous city, absolutely beautiful. We're in a square right now next to the Cathedral of Santa Ana, and it's really incredible here. We're just learning about all of the sources of the materials for this cathedral. So there's pieces from France, from Germany, from Belgium, and the tile, the blue tile up top in those signature domes is actually from the Czech Republic.
We took a tour of the city, stopping at the outdoor flower market and going through the 10th of August market, where vendors bring their fruits, vegetables, meat, and herbs to sell. We bought coffee and honey as souvenirs and tasted several varieties of bananas. While in Cuenca, we got our COVID-19 PCR test to be able to enter the Galapagos. Luckily, everyone was negative, meaning we can all go to the islands. We continued from Cuenca to Cajas National Park, which is a really neat place. It has 2 mammals that are only found in this park and 19 plant species that are unique to it. Of course, it also has beautiful views. As we drove onward, the scenery changed to be much more tropical as we neared the coast. We stopped at a cacao farm to see how chocolate is made, and finally we made it to Guayaquil, where we walked along the water at night before heading to bed on our final night on the mainland before the Galapagos.
Heading to the Galapagos! Yay!